Connor O'Gara, national columnist, Saturday Down South, joining us on halftime for your usual Monday hit. On the day that the AP preseason poll is announced, Arkansas is 19th. Connor, how you doing, man? I know you've already written about this AP Top 25 poll. What do you think?
Yeah, it's old news at this point, 2.5 hours old. I think we got all of our takes out there and fired off. Look, I'm one of these people that I used to say that polls don't matter at all, but polls sell tickets. They sell expectations. They give us something to talk about. I think that they serve a purpose. They don't necessarily determine postseason outcomes, but, I mean, we're talking about it right now, and, you know, I imagine we're going to talk about why I think Arkansas is pretty underrated at 19.
Yeah, well, what do you think the media sees that the coaches didn't? Because the coaches in AP virtually identical with Ole Miss, with Kentucky, with Cincinnati, but AP is Arkansas 4 spots ahead. So first of all, does 4 spots mean all that much, or what do you think the media sees that the coaches didn't?
That's a good question. I don't know. I don't know if there's a little bit of the coaching fraternity wait and see on Sam Pittman or something, and media just kind of buying in a little bit more. I'm buying in more than all of them. I think to have them at number 11 in my early rankings and to have them above Texas A&M, I think that Arkansas, for all the things that we've talked about this offseason, it's impressive that we're at least having this discussion, right? I mean, talking about this team 2 years removed from thinking, wow, what a situation that Sam Pittman inherited. If they win an SEC game or two this year, you know, that would feel like a big win for them. And 2 years later, we're like, hey, maybe this should be closer to the top 10. Like, I don't know. At least that's kind of where I stand on this. And, you know, I think they're just at a much different place right now. Maybe it does come back to that, though. Media is more so buying this belief that Sam Pittman is the guy and that, you know, he's able to not just sustain what they did last year, but to be able to build on that, and coaches aren't quite there yet. Who knows?
Well, also Kentucky's in the top 25 for the first. You put it on your Twitter. This is shocking since the Carter administration. Wow. And we'll have to get into the Stoops versus Calipari thing as we go throughout here. But there was news about an hour ago coming out of LSU. What do you think of Jaden Daniels as the starting quarterback for the Tigers? And apparently Miles Brennan isn't just leaving LSU. He's retiring. He's not going to play football anymore. Yeah,
so the worst-kept secret out of LSU's camp is that it's been Jaden Daniels versus Garrett Nussmeier for the starting job, and that Miles Brennan has been a distant third. And he just hasn't necessarily grasped the offense quite the way that two others have. And it was pretty clear that he wasn't going to be LSU's starting quarterback. And it's his last season of eligibility. He wasn't going to be able to transfer and start somewhere else immediately, because that's what the transfer rules dictate. And so now he's kind of looked at the situation and was like, do I want to hold a clipboard and go through, you know, more two-a-days and deal with it, year 6, or do I want to just start my life? And he chose to start his adult life, and it's a bummer because if you saw those first 3 games of 2020, it was promising, and there was hope that he could be a solid SEC quarterback, and he just hasn't been able to stay healthy since then, and, you know, wasn't able to grasp the offense. I'm optimistic about Jaden Daniels, and everybody that I've talked to about him says, look, when he's right, man, it's really fun to watch. And if he has some weapons around him that can make some plays, he can be really dangerous, just like he was as a true freshman at Arizona State in 2019. And LSU has weapons. I mean, they might have the best group of receivers in the SEC if Kayshon Boutte is out there. They love Brian Thomas. Jack Besh is somebody who's becoming a star very quickly in this league. So you look at that and you say, all right, well, whoever starts a quarterback for LSU is stepping into a pretty nice situation, even though there are a lot of questions on the offensive line. So I'm optimistic about Jaden Daniels, but everything I keep hearing is do not sleep on Garrett Nussmeier stepping in and being what Ian Book was in that Brian Kelly Notre Dame offense for a few years.
Well, you've been out in front saying that Arkansas is underrated because you know what they have at quarterback in KJ Jefferson. I don't remember if you had Arkansas 11th or 12th preseason for you, but that's way ahead of where the coaches or the media does. You said the same thing about Tennessee and Hendon Hooker. Now that you know Jaden Daniels is the LSU starting quarterback, there are a lot of people that think LSU is a sleeper team this year. They're not in the AP preseason poll. Knowing who they have at quarterback, do you think they're a top 25 club?
Well, I don't know. Garrett Nussmeier could start at quarterback for LSU. That is still very much a possibility as well. Jaden Daniels or Garrett Nussmeier. So we're still kind of wait and see with that. And it doesn't really change my overall outlook of them. It's not like I would have put them in my top 25. I left them out. I think that they still have too many questions to answer for a 6-win team that had 10 guys get drafted in the NFL, which is just an absurd thing to think about those two things at the same time. That doesn't happen. And all the moves that Brian Kelly made in the transfer portal, you're just kind of like, I don't know how this is going to turn out. We're still pretty young in this era of the transfer portal with a one-time exemption to where now you have teams like Ole Miss and USC and LSU that have double-digit Power 5 transfers, and you're kind of like, well, how's this going to pan out? Are these guys going to be able, we've seen it in doses, but to have so much dependency on that, it just, for me, it leaves too many questions. I'm a little bit more optimistic probably than the average person on the LSU offense, but I'm still very much in wait-and-see mode for Jaden Daniels or Garrett Nussmeier to be the starting quarterback at LSU.
Mm-hmm. Now, Connor, when these polls come out preseason or week by week, there's plenty of people that are upset if they haven't moved up enough, they dropped too low, they're not getting the respect that they deserve. But the real victim of this AP poll, Connor, it's Texas. I mean, how does Texas go from getting a first-place vote in the coaches poll to not even being in the top 25? I know everyone across the natural state is feeling that disrespect towards Texas. I mean, what's going on here?
Yeah, has that sentence ever been said? Poor little old Texas just can't get enough love. Now, it's funny to see that those polls, essentially, a week removed from one another, and seeing that, for whatever reason, in the coaches poll, 18th, I'm still of the belief that there were people that accidentally meant to put Tennessee, and they put Texas in that spot. I mean, I didn't have Texas in my top 25. And if you ask me why, I would say, well, a 5-win team who missed out on bowl eligibility because it couldn't beat Kansas isn't quite worthy of starting off in the top 25 for me personally. I might be different, but I think that Texas, even if you look at the injuries that they had over the weekend, they had like 3 significant injuries in their scrimmage that they have. I think they're going to score a ton of points this year. Quinn Ewers is my Heisman pick. I think that they're going to be capable of lighting up scoreboards. They're going to have a top 5, top 10 offense in all of college football. I don't really doubt that. I think defensively they're going to be a disaster, though. And I think you need to see what they're capable of on that side in terms of the improvements. I think they have a decent amount of production back on that side of the ball. But, yeah, that's the reason why Texas isn't getting the love in the AP poll. And I don't really have a problem with a 5-win team or even a 4-win team not necessarily getting the benefit of the doubt in these way too early polls. That should be based more on what we've seen last year and what a team is if they step on the field tomorrow, as opposed to what they're going to be at season's end or what they could be next year.
Speaking of not getting the love they think they deserve, I mean, let's talk about your opinion on the Mark Stoops, John Calipari situation and back and forth that has been going on, I guess, in Lexington and the Bahamas, because that's where the Kentucky basketball team. What's your thoughts and opinions on the whole situation?
Yeah, so the way that this all came out via the story in The Athletic, wherein Kyle Tucker had John Calipari quoted as saying, this is a basketball state. Georgia, Alabama, or this is those are football schools. He said that Cal said that Kentucky is a basketball school, and Stoops firing off on Twitter the way that he did escalated this thing. And I have no problem whatsoever with Mark Stoops responding the way that he did. As somebody who has been in this league now for a decade, is 1 win away from tying Bear Bryant on the all-time wins list at Kentucky, and has built this program into something that nobody thought was possible a decade ago, and has had more success than Kentucky basketball in the last 5 years. I think Mark Stoops is well within his rights to stand up when Cal is trying to communicate that he wants a new practice facility and he wants to get on the level of Kansas, even though, he was more than capable of winning in the NCAA tournament, not puking on his shoes against St. Peter's in the first round. So I look at this situation, I see one coach who doesn't get it and one coach who does. And the coach who does get it is coaching the football program, and he's got himself a program that I think a lot of people felt like they needed to defend after Cal just took an unnecessary shot at Stoops that can inevitably be used against him in recruiting. I just thought it was an entirely foolish move, and you see programs like Arkansas and Auburn that's a layup for them to just come out on social media and dunk on Kentucky for having that sort of issue within its own athletic department.
You could argue about, Kentucky is a basketball school or football school and all that stuff. What this is about is that he was dodging the same crap that he gets from every other program that recruits against Kentucky. Why go to a basketball school? They might tell those recruits. And now the basketball coach is saying the very same thing, whether it's true or not. Like, these are things you don't hear from Nick Saban, from Dabo Swinney, from Kirby Smart, because it's understood. They don't have to say it. Like, Cal didn't need to say that either. I guess he just felt he had to drive his point home that, that our practice facility sucks. But I think that's why Stoops, he hears this all the time from other spots outside the program and probably from the fan base too. But it had to have just reached a boiling point for him where it just bubbled over. He couldn't deal with it anymore. And it's like, well, I'm going after Cal, I guess.
Well, yeah, Cal coming out the way that he did, it speaks to the relationship or lack thereof with he and Mitch Barnhart, the Kentucky athletic director. And those two, it's the worst kept secret in Lexington. Those two have been at odds for a while. And you could see the basic power dynamics of Cal coming out and saying publicly, again, we need this new facility. And Mitch Barnhart's like, no, we got one in 2007. I get it. The roof is leaking, blah, blah, blah. But they just did this massive renovation to Rupp Arena. It was $240 million to that and the whatever the civic center that's connected to it. They're not lacking in facilities. Kansas didn't win a national championship in basketball because they have this unbelievable new practice facility, and Kentucky's just lacking in talent. They can't get it done. Get out of here with that. Kentucky fans don't want to hear anymore about Cal and this belief that he's just, we just can't get the job done. We just don't have the resources to make this happen. It's like, you're Kentucky, man. You're a blue blood. Nobody feels bad for you. Pick up your bootstraps, maximize talent the way that Mark Stoops has, and actually show that you're worthy of this contract that you've been given, this great opportunity that you've been given, instead of continuing to complain. And that's where Kentucky fans are kind of at right now. Mark Stoops' approval rating in Lexington is significantly higher than John Calipari's, especially after comments like these.
Yeah, especially in the last 3 days. I think it's taken a big step forward. Connor, we'll leave it there. Appreciate you. Have a great week. Thank you.
Absolutely. Appreciate it, guys.
Appreciate it, Connor.
Connor O'Gara, Saturday Down South. Let's just put this into ideas here. The A&M game last year, football, Dave Van Horn and Eric Musselman are on the sideline, and they're hugging Sam Pittman after the win. I remember seeing Sam Pittman at numerous Arkansas women's basketball games. Goes to talk with Coach Neighbors before the game. Is a supporter of softball, of baseball. What do you think the chances are at a Kentucky football game this year that John Calipari and Nick Mingione are there together? I don't even know if Calipari knows who the baseball coach is in Kentucky.
I didn't.
Nor should he, for that matter, because it ain't a good program.
BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to wager on all your favorite sports, contests, and events with first-to-market odds and lines. Find reviews and news for every league, including Major League Baseball, NFL, NBA, NHL, combat sports, esports, and even golf. BetOnline continues to be the top online resource for all your sports information, from live in-game betting, props, and futures. Head to BetOnline today or use your mobile device to join today and make your first sports bet. Use our promo code BELIEVE50 to receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. That's BELIEVE, BLEAV 50. That's BELIEVE, BLEAV 50. Bet online, where the game starts.